The weekly episode 18, and we are back this week with our usual host of characters. Starting off on my far left, or your far right while you're watching, is Mr. Juan Bagnell from Some Gadget Guy. How's it going, man?
Hey, going well, man. Got my coffee. I'm ready to chat.
All right, cool. And next up is Mr. Sam, aka Black Iron _ Man. How's it going, man?
Hi, everyone.
All right, and finally rounding up the quartet is the one and only Warren Bowman from BW1.com.
Let's do this. It's Saturday, and you have shades on that lets you look like a douche.
Wow, coming in. Wow. So what you guys don't know is that we had an extended heated sports ball conversation before we went live, and I think some things were said that we can't take back. I don't think we'll be unburned.
Why are you doing that?
I had to throw it in somehow.
He doesn't want the baby. He doesn't want the baby. Like, he doesn't want it.
Anyway, let's get back to tech, guys. If you're listening, we have a light show, but it should be a fun show this week. Anyone in the chat, anyone who hasn't used this list, let me know. But I think, Sam, you just sent one over.
No, just something to discuss if possible. It's about Spotify revokes policy to punish artists accused of bad behavior.
Yeah, I found this one interesting when Spotify first announced this policy. And I was like, at first I was like, yeah, cool. Then I realized that all artists have bad behavior at the same time. So I wasn't like, I guess for me, it was like, okay, the artists I've loved over the years, I listened to, what I think of something like Ozzy Osbourne. If Ozzy was, in his prime now, doing all the stiff stuff that he did, he would feel on this,
Is he alive?
No, he's alive. I'm just saying that if he was in his prime.
Are we sure?
Osbourne is still alive.
I think Ozzy has done enough drugs to basically preserve himself forever. He's
like a Keith Richards at this point.
Yeah. Oh, way past that. Keith Richards.
I think the key comment here is Spotify going, our role is not to regulate artists. And I believe that's a really good idea. They should leave it up to the labels. They should leave it up to the management companies. Look at what happened, not to jump into the whole Roseanne thing. It was between ABC and her management company that ended up dropping her. It shouldn't be basically people like Spotify who basically pays these other companies for rights, for streaming rights or whatever for the song. Spotify is just a service where it's being thrown on there. If you have bad behavior, Spotify shouldn't be the police. It should be up to the people who own the labels.
Because I agree with you, Sam, but I do want to throw out just for the sake of conversation and argument, like let's say you were a radio station and you ran into an R. Kelly situation or a Chris Brown situation. The management of that radio station would have a say in what makes it to air. We do have these sort of guidelines in place for how we promote certain individuals. Movies, for the same token, movies can get pulled, TV shows can get canceled, and you're right that it happens between certain entities. But Spotify now blurs the line for what we would traditionally look for in that relationship. Spotify is like a radio service, so at some point they should be able to have a say as to what's broadcast on their service.
True, but
it's a complicated. I think what they did was ham-fisted and was a dumb way to approach it. But at the, to the same token, I do believe they should have some say over what parts of what catalogs they have on their platform.
But with the whole idea of Spotify, with the functionality of Spotify, I can specify who I don't want to show up on my playlists. So I think that kind of removes Spotify from the responsibility of a radio station because it gives a lot more control to their users. So I would say if you're a user of these services and you encounter an artist that is reprehensible, that is basically that doesn't fit into your social or your worldview, you can just opt out of that artist. And I think Spotify finally realized that we do have that option for our users. So why are we ahead and doing something else?
But then also we also exist in a climate where people are very hair triggery, and to see that you can get R. Kelly on Spotify, well, I'm going to boycott Spotify is going to be a Tumblr conversation if it's not already. That I'm sure Spotify management would also be concerned about. I think their policy was misguided. I think it was poorly implemented, and I think they saw the repercussions of what was going down. I think this was the right move to reverse course on this. But I also think, you know, if something truly terrible comes out from one of these artists, not just the sort of permissive bad behavior that we're willing to accept from a celebrity, but beyond the pale, I don't think it's completely completely outside the realm of good business for Spotify to still say, like, you know, like, we'll take everyone but that guy because that guy sucks, so we're gonna pull that guy from our catalog.
Yeah, no, I do agree on that aspect of them having that ability to jump in and say that. But, you know, the initial policy of saying, no, here's our guidelines, and you must go to church every Sunday, and you must do this before you actually cut a record and put on Spotify.
Yeah, that
doesn't work. You know, like anything, again, it's just the same reaction like ABC had. It's saying, look, we don't like what you said. You don't like what you're doing. No, sorry, done. Because you've at least affected something where a large number of our user base will not like. So I think on that aspect. But Warren, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I think the best reaction for them to do is to take it on a case-by-case basis. I don't really think there's a way to make a blanket sort of statement in terms of how you handle these sort of social situations or PR situations when an artist isn't doing something that's favorable. I think the best thing that they could do is adjust algorithms to maybe not allow that artist to be seen as much within their systems as often when those type of things kind of sort of happen. If they're running a promotion from that artist, to stop their promotion during that time, you know, that might be some good things that they can do from that aspect. But I think them seeing what they put down first, saw that it wasn't a good idea, and going back and reversing it is a good sign and a good thing that they're aware that their initial response to this was not the best response to have. And I think it really has to be a case by case. This thing, it just got to be. It's got to depend. The funny thing is, I think TV deals with this a lot more than music does, because music at the end of the day will just play a song on the radio and it is what it is. Unless that artist is like literally like, I don't know, because there hasn't been anybody that terrible yet. Because R. Kelly seems to get away with everything, and that's probably you'd figure he would have like pushed the bar at some point.
Would we maybe draw a corollary with a performer like CeeLo Green? Is that in the ballpark? Because I think that the response and the backlash to CeeLo Green was not career ending, but definitely like career decimating.
I don't know with CeeLo. I think also again CeeLo to me is not as big as R. Kelly.
I'm not saying what they did. I mean in the response to what they did.
No. Just in catalog even. I mean, like, R. Kelly had so many hits. CeeLo had like a couple, and CeeLo was more on TV
or is
at
it
the time.
That we were able to come down harder on CeeLo Green because he isn't as big an influence as the catalog and history of R. Kelly.
That's
R. Kelly has more money. But you can't come hard on him.
But I think also you have to add the fact that CeeLo was on TV.
Yeah,
TV is the place where they can nail you. You know,
TV's the bigger thing. It's seeing more. People are affected more by seeing than hearing. So TV just like this type of stuff all.
You do something on TV, you go hide. Like you hide for a while.
Oh yeah.
And then you come back. You know, you come back and you do your apology tour. But that's like at least a year and a half before you even start making those ventures. On the radio, on radio or streaming services, the most apology tour you go to is like, one of the big radio stations or one of those big DJs that you go and talk to, and
drop an apology track.
Yeah. Then you explain. Nobody drops apology tracks anymore. Yeah, you just kind of explain that you were in a down moment in your life, and
you try to get on the Breakfast Club, or you try to get on higher end radio talk shows and try to talk and speak your mind and be interviewed, and pull the Chris Brown, so to speak, because he should have of all people should have caught that hammer. But the music industry allows as much nonsense as it possibly can allow, as long as tracks are spinning. So I think Spotify handling it case by case is probably the best thing, and being a streaming service that it's not that isn't as tied to the rules as radio is, in terms of its business model, it could possibly have more. It could possibly do more things in terms of
Being flexible.
being flexible, because the radio station is limited to time, and it can only play so many songs so many times per day, and it fit advertising in within that. Spotify has an unlimited amount of time because it's all times dependent upon the user, and they have a number of songs that are unlimited to it too. So if one artist doesn't like something or does something wrong, they can just, all right, well, we'll just, we can make money by promoting another artist, or another artist comes in and it takes that space that this artist didn't have before. So
Yeah.
Well, and then I think this also is indicative of the fact that Spotify probably overestimated their power in this instance, in being the streaming service, and in how much money actually makes it from Spotify back to publishers and labels and the artist. I think they grossly overestimated how much control they'd be able to exert over the music industry.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Let's move on to our topics. Unless there's any more uselessness you guys have or in the chat, let us know. We'll come back to it. Moving on to some future rumors for devices either coming at the end of the year. I dubbed it the iPhone X1 because I don't know what they're gonna call it, or XI. Sorry. The rumor is from Korea Herald, which claims that both the Galaxy S10 and the new iPhone, XI Plus or X Plus, whatever it would be, will feature 3 camera lenses. 3. Isn't clear what the third sensor would be exactly for Apple. We do know that Huawei was the first company to throw three lenses, and of course, one is a dedicated monochrome lens, which is something they've been doing for a while. But just to guess, what do you think Apple or Samsung, if they were to throw 3 lenses in, would be that third lens for? What do you think it would be? Because I don't think it would be monochrome. I don't think that's something they would go with. But Sam, what do you think?
Here in the article, it's saying it's probably going to be for enhanced zoom.
I said you. I didn't say article. I know what the article said.
If you let me finish, you would have heard exactly what I was going to say. I think it might be for something like more related to just like AR, VR kind of stuff. Like, so basically augmented reality. So they would have the 2 cameras like they have right now, and they might have something for enhanced depth of field or something that basically gives you more of a 3D feel to things when you're going around using AR. That would be ideal in my in any situation, given the way VR is going right now. The fact that you could probably throw this into one of those, Samsung Gear VR type devices where the back is open and you're basically viewing some kind of AR kind of experience in real time, walking around, being able to use your camera and also have the AR experience. I would hope that's what they're going for, because AR and VR are pretty big right now. But ultimately, you can't really tell, because a third camera is like something that we've only seen, like you said, on the what was it, the P20?
Yeah, P20 Pro.
It'd be interesting to find out what they do with it.
No, I agree with Sam. I think it would be entirely way too practical for them to put something on that actually is a benefit just for normal photo and video. Like a wide angle camera, LG style. I seriously doubt they're going to do anything that beneficial to the consumer. Instead, I think every company right now is doubling down on AI, machine learning, the sort of fads of the moment right now. I think it probably will push towards some kind of depth sensor. What's hilarious is getting back to like Project Tango style hardware, where if we had just started incorporating that from the get-go, then we wouldn't have to reinvent this wheel for future AR services.
Warren?
Yeah, I mean, I might imagine the AR VR kind of aspect of it is probably one of the things that they'll be doing. It'll maybe benefit pictures, but I think we'll find a law of diminishing returns sort of come into play the more we sort of add those things out there. Because remember, in the end of the day, consumers are just posting to Facebook and Instagram. They're not posting to everywhere else like the rest of us are.
Or not even just posting. I mean, like missing out on opportunities. Like I'm creating prints.
Yeah.
Like I did a large format canvas print of my daughter playing in a fountain that I took off the hip from my V30. Like if consumers were really playing around with stuff like that, I think we'd probably see smartphone manufacturers more in the realm of what Huawei is doing, like really trying to improve that photo video experience really trying to up the ante. But that's not where I think the main focus is headed.
And you can learn how to do that more by reading Juan's book, Taking Better Photos, Smartphone Photography with News, out now.
It's
available on Amazon. You can download the ebook.
You should do the audiobook one. You should do the audiobook. Recording audio.
I really I think a photography audiobook is the worst idea ever.
No.
It's the best idea.
It's the best idea. Call us in. We'll be the guest actors and be like, hey, Juan, I'm trying to take a picture, but I can't get my friends to stay still. How do I capture them all in the perfect environment?
That's
you're
hilarious. Like, we're trying to
change the S stop value. And we'll go, which is the S stop value on this particular device? How do I get there, Juan? And Juan will go through the whole thing.
I love it. You just rocked my world. We're going to do it.
Anil says, adding a depth sensor and a wide angle will allow AR to push even more boundaries. Although more developers also need to invest resources in developing apps. I mean, developers developing anything that costs more money is not what developers do. So, exactly. But I mean, yeah, I would like to see a depth and wide angle sensor combine. I mean, like those two. And yes, it will boost AR, but it means that every phone would have a wide angle sensor for Juan, so at least you would have that there. So
yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll see. Off the back of that comment, right? Has any developer really, like any third-party developer, used the iPhone X's AR feature for any apps out there? Have you guys encountered anything like that? Because I haven't really heard much about that.
There's one that my friend who I do the photography video with was showing me. I can't remember the name. It's a camera. It's a bokeh app. It just basically does better bokehs than the iPhone can do. That's one thing. It literally looks really close to your mirrorless or DSLR. Like that's how good it looks. But it also does you can also now do a 3D depth sensing thing with it. So you can actually start rotating it and still get the full depth almost as a 3D image. It's really cool and very interesting. It's a very different approach to it, where you can actually rotate the image and see the layer of depth, because then it's taking all the images that's stitched and it's now like giving you all the layers out the way through. So if you're looking at a flower, you're getting a full 3-dimensional cut slice on one half of it. This is which is something that, again, surprising, because I was talking to him and I said, yeah, this is what the iPhone can do. The AR tech they have in there and the camera sensors that they have is pretty good. It's just that, whenever we take a bokeh photo, it's hit or miss. I would say it's 4 out of 10 that you get, a really solid looking image. So I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but it's funny that, somebody else is doing that better with an app on the iPhone, I think.
Yeah, well, and then also it's like a lot of the apps for AR core. One of the problems that we're running into, like I'm doing a Google search right now while we're talking about this, and it's really difficult to just get a list of AR core compatible apps on Google Play.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't exist. Like if you wanted people to really be taking advantage and you wanted developers to think that you were supporting this initiative, maybe just have, I don't know, AR core by google.com and have a list like we were trying to do with, like Cardboard, make it a project that people can actually find with a simple web search.
It's not even that easy to find AR. I think Apple does a much better job with it on the Apple Store, where there's an AR section. It's just purely one section
for AR kit. Yeah, exactly.
And on Android, like you have to know the game or the app, unless you're on the VR headset where it's just purely AR stuff there. But on your phone, if you're just trying to go like, let me find something so I can, either save or come back later to download, like it's a hot mess.
So I would say, I mean, some of the more successful things have just been, I think they're still in the realm of demo more than they are hardcore, real practical. But who was it? Lowe's, their app actually functions pretty well if you want to like place furniture and measure your room and do some stuff where you could try and imagine what some new stuff in your living room would look like. It's still fairly limited, but I think it's a huge step in the right direction.
BMW
has a really interesting AR service. There's an iPhone game, which is way more fun than it has any right to be. where you have to go out into a big old wide field and you look like an idiot holding your phone up in front of your face, but it draws out a course and you have to run the course in AR. And then it times you and it puts up your time against people around the world. And I can't even remember what it's called. I want to say it's something dumb like AR Runner or something like that. But it's I lost so many times. And like, this is, again, it's like Beat Saber for VR. It's like, this is way more fun than it has any right to be. And I'm running around this empty soccer field like an idiot, but I'm having fun doing it. So I mean, some things like that I think could be really exciting if we could give this a little bit more visibility, give it more of a push. I don't think we get there just from hardware manufacturers building in new proprietary triple camera systems, but I'm seeing some stuff that's really encouraging. And especially if we could get older services on board. Like, I would love to have a Pokemon Go where when the showdown happens, your Pokemon characters actually interact with the environment, you know, like really building. So like, I'm out at a park and I'm going to duel with your character, and there's a park bench in there and they can jump on and off the park bench and they actually can interact with each other. That'll be really exciting. And I think that's something Apple's working on for their next generation of AR kit, is two iPhones in the same place talking to each other so that those types of interactive experiences match up. And so that you're looking at the same thing from different angles and the phones are relating that information back to each other in space. Again, I think that's another positive step in the right direction.
The one thing I would say in the AR and VR arena, which to me is shocking because I'm not a fan of low-end VR stuff. I've really enjoyed the Oculus Go. Don't ask me why, but it's I realized there's a lot of, you know, I can see where Juan was going with this. Maybe I finally caught the vision that you had at like low-end VR. But it just reminded me because I've been using it for at least, you know, 2 or 3 weeks now. I mean, half the time is just watching movies, just the fact that I have that theater experience with it. And it, you know, it's actually got speakers built in, so I actually don't need to use headphones all the time. But then I think it was a couple of days ago, Qualcomm announced which I find interesting because I would rather see a lot of these features are in the Snapdragon 845, but some of them are not. And I would like to see these features in. So they announced the XR1 platform, which is basically purely VR, AR chipsets, or at least tuned chipsets. You know, the standards of 4K, the Spectra, but the advanced vision processing, which is not in any of the 845s or the 820s or any of that kind of stuff. The spatial 3D audio, which you need in AR and VR because you're getting that like, you know, sound awareness and then also like the depth sensors and things like that. So I'd rather just see this in all your chipsets moving forward, because AR and VR is not just going to be limited to just the standalone headsets. You're going to have it in, you know, different devices. And if you're going to push on these boundaries, then it's best that at least all your flagship chipsets should support all these features.
Yeah.
Or unless maybe, of course, because they call it a platform, maybe it's the platform will include some of those flagship processors. They haven't really specified, but it will be interesting to see how that turns out, because it looks like VR and AR is getting back into that mainstream push again, with, you know, a couple of these new releases and launches. So, you know, we shall.
But again, it's about standards. It's about making sure that you've got a broad swath of compatibility, and then it's also about discoverability, which right now Apple's doing better, but I don't even think Apple's solution is really going to be moving the needle for general consumers.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, moving forward, it looks like Samsung plans to revamp its camera and unveil the Galaxy Note 9 on August 9th. That is way too early.
It's never too early to announce or to release the new notes.
Okay, Sam, you're frozen and you've got this death stare to the camera right now.
Oh, I am frozen. Okay.
Yes, yeah. But Warren, what do you think?
So they're talking about 90s rap album, Sam.
Yeah, it does look good. Yeah, it does. So according to the article here from Bloomberg, says they're going to focus on camera system, faster processor, which means the new Exynos is coming out, which we knew that was coming. But they're talking about the camera system, which I think they do need to update their processing, and also the front-facing camera, which is something they just haven't updated in a while. What do you think, Warren?
Interesting. I mean, it makes sense with the Note to focus on the cameras more because you have more space to be able to do these type of things, and hopefully they will try to push a Note as more of that premium, high-end smartphone that sort of has all the best specs that it used to have like back in the day. So it'd be nice for them to do that. They have to get somewhere in the ball with the front-facing camera because you're seeing everyone else push the limits of the front-facing camera. There's more. And Samsung has really sort of just kind of try to keep up a little bit, but I think they need to make a drastic change to join the rest of the movement out there in terms of front-facing camera work. But that seems to be the main thing that we can focus on most of these smartphones right now is the better camera. And so I'm not surprised the Note's focus is probably going to be more on that than probably any of the other features that they'll update with it going forward.
What about you? I was going to say Sam, but he's in and out. Mark, how about you?
I mean, it's the same. I want to see the Note return to being a Vanguard product. You guys have heard me whinge on enough about this. I want the Note to be the tech showcase. I want the Note to be the unquestionable, this is how far we can push the boundaries of a smartphone design. And I understand why from the Note 7 to the Note 8, we probably needed a recovery year in there, but we've got to get back on track. I don't think I've been as impressed in any smartphone generational improvement as I was going from the Note 3 to the Note 4. I want to have that feeling again, where I really felt like this is something special. This is something that is really pushing every single technology I care about and every single experience that it's claiming to offer. It's dominating. And that's what I want. That's what I want from a Samsung. And more often than not, lately I've been more looking forward to the Active because I just want a Samsung with a bigger battery. You know, like that's where I've been most excited about their releases. The thing that has me concerned is not only just the talking points about what kind of tech they're putting into it, but the potential that they might be shifting this timeline around again because they're talking about trying to make the phone thinner. And that's something I don't think any Note fan really cares about, is having the thinnest possible Note. It's that we want to see a dominating tech platform.
See, I think that is also, I think that's just a misconception from Bloomberg and whoever's reporting this, because I think they're going to the fact that because Samsung is looking at having an acoustic style speaker that's vibrating off the screen, that they're thinking Samsung wants to make it thinner. I think Samsung just wants to do that. And in the result, it's going to be thinner, no matter how you look at it. So, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily tied together, but we'll see. Because again,
but even if you include that tech, I don't think any Note person is going to say, "Oh, good, you built in an acoustic, vibrational, or tissue conducting screen. Now you can make the phone thinner." Like what they would say, I think more often people would say, like, "Why can't we get a Note with a battery that at least matches the S9 Plus?"
No. What I'm saying is, I think they got it wrong. I think they just want to make it thin. I mean, they want to make the acoustic sounding speaker, and I think they are assuming, okay, who wrote this, assuming that that's what Samsung is correlating the two together. I just don't see it that way, because I think we're going to go up to a much larger. There've been also previous reports that Samsung is looking at increasing the battery of the Note. Anyway, the last couple of months. So I just don't think that's the case. I think it's just that Samsung has a new piece of tech with a screen that they want to throw in, and then that's it. And they just assume it. But then again, I could be wrong. We'll have to wait to see till August something, right? 9th, 31st, something like that. Sam, how about you?
I'm not as excited about the camera as I'm sure a lot of people would be. I think, yes, it is due for an upgrade because there have been a lot of advances in handheld cameras, or should I say in phone cameras and mobile cameras, that the Note has somewhat missed out on, especially the front-facing camera. I would be more excited to hear more about what they want to do with DeX and how that's going to factor in to the new Note 9. But overall, any upgrade to the Note, bringing it to be that flagship slash experimental cutting edge device is always welcome.
See, I believe you're going to get 3 major updates to the Notes, and they're not going to be that big. They're going to improve the front-facing camera, and they're probably going to improve their camera system, their processing system. They're also going to improve the S Pen. That's just going to get that constant update. So maybe, you know, some more features and writing better. And then we'll get that, you know, acoustic surface speaker, maybe a slightly bigger battery. Because the biggest, again, to me, the biggest upgrades for any of the Galaxy line comes in 2019. That's next year, right? 2019. Yeah. That's when we have the Galaxy S10 and the Note 10. You got to save it for then. Like, you can't do everything this year, which to me leads me to believe that it's not this whole acoustic sounding display is just so that they have something extra because they're saving everything for next year. To me, that's just how I see it with Samsung. You know,
well, the Note 10 is going to come personalized with Sam's face on it. It's going to be the Sam edition because he's the biggest fan.
So I mean, I know Bloomberg picked this up too, but there's the bell.co.kr is actually, I mean, this is all speculation. This isn't, you know, hard fact, but Samsung Electronics has made a design change to reduce the thickness of the glass of the Galaxy Note 9 by 0.5 millimeters compared to the existing plan. The window glass protects the OLED panel from film-like parts that stick to the outermost side of the phone. So again, it looks like we could be seeing the glass sandwich where the Galaxy S9 is scoring not great for durability is the durability of those glass parts, them actually finding ways to make that glass even thinner on the phone that's supposed to be the more brutal lifestyle, getting to done productivity phone.
All right.
Again, that's a take it with a giant rock of salt. But if this turns out, like, if we see during the press conference and like, yeah, we're Samsung and we know what you want a thinner Note. I will be the first to start crying and whinging on Twitter that Samsung doesn't know what we want with the Note.
I mean, if they give us a thinner Note and a bigger battery in there, would you be happy?
Again, the part of this will be, I want a Note that I don't feel I need to handle with kid gloves. And so you made the phone 0.5 millimeters thinner so that I will then have to add 0.5 millimeters of protective thickness to whatever case I need to put it on, where I can still get my Note 4. And that thing has never been in a case. And I have been brutal to that phone. And it's scratched to hell, but it's fine. It's fine.
No,
as opposed to like my
case.
Note 5, which slid out of a pocket and landed from like waist height onto asphalt and destroyed everything on the inside of the phone.
Sorry, I'm saying, Juan, that was your fault. I do not.
I
do not use a case on this
productivity phone. Just never drop it. And when the peasants run out of bread, just let them eat cake.
Yeah, I don't use a case on this because Sam has my case. That's really the truth, not the fact that I actually don't use a case. But
yes, I do have his case.
Stealing his case now.
Yeah, no, because my phone cracked while I had my case on, so I had to take someone else's case. So, I took his.
Sam was like, "Oh, this case is much better." I was like, "Yeah, you can have it. It's fine. It's okay. I'll sacrifice my phone." But anyway, that would be interesting. But I don't think the launch date is August 9th. I think that's just too.
I don't even know if the August 9th. There were some early rumors that we'd see at the end of July. So, getting into August now even seems like that might be reasonable.
But here's why I think it's just not. Every single year they do the same game. Every single year, Samsung launches this 1 or 2 days before IFA. Really?
Yeah.
Like always every year.
I don't think they launch it until a week before IFA.
Yeah, to me it's always the same thing. And then there's a report that said, at least from Korea, that an exec says they will delay the launch for 2 weeks. That's not a report. It hasn't been confirmed or denied, but because they're making changes. So if you're making changes, it's going to be delayed, not pushed up. To me, it makes sense to actually go closer
Now
to
I
August.
wonder if Samsung will pull an LG where they announce a phone that then takes like 6 weeks for it to actually make it to market.
Nah, that is not Samsung. We know that.
I know that's not Samsung. That's what I'm saying is like if they're going through the process, if some of these media speculation, if some of this is true, that they're redesigning parts of a phone that's supposed to launch this year, I wonder if they'll hold to their IFA timeline. Their let's screw up everybody's travel plans before flying off to Germany by also making you fly to New York. And but we won't really actually have the phone mass produced until like a month or a month and a half afterwards.
No, I don't think that's the Samsung. Samsung doesn't play with money like that they want to get.
But they're not going to hold the announcement till after IFA.
Yeah.
Will they?
I don't know. Again, it's just rumors and speculations, but I think we will know soon enough. Once Samsung tells us they're making an announcement, we'll know soon enough. And usually it's 2 weeks after. They've joined the Apple fray of 2 weeks. I remember and again, they're redesigning here, I think, is not a redesign of we're changing too much. We have to now move certain things. Remember this redesign with this button. This was last minute also because it was supposed to be here with the fingerprint sensor. They had to move it around, and it still launched in the same window they were supposed to because Synaptex couldn't get it to work. And it's taking them still a year and a half, and it's still not working correctly. So I think it's moving things around or placing things in specific areas so that it actually, fits properly. But we'll see. We'll see. Speaking of redesign and complete sexy look, Lenovo on June 12th will be announcing the Z5, which will have probably one of the thinnest bezels of any phone. Except I wish they just moved that camera to the top. I don't know why it's on the bottom. I don't get it. That's just the only thing. I'm like,
so my thing is, I actually do like having a chin bezel for how it positions your keyboard, and that you don't have to have a ton of like wasted software digital bezel to make up for trying to reach the bottom edge. The thing that I complained about in a video that I produced in 2013 when people were complaining about bezels, I'm starting to run into on phones like the G7 and the OnePlus 6, where I've got a couple older games that I really like to play that they probably won't be able to become properly calibrated for these super tall, skinny aspect ratio screens. And when you've got these controls that are at the barest edges of the phones, like my thumbs can't play a game like this at their minimum flexible distance from the pad of my hand for very long. So I'd kind of like to have some border space where we can kind of arrange parts and pieces. This Z5 looks awesome as a design piece. We're gonna have a selfie camera that looks up your nose, just like laptops with low mounted webcams, but I don't mind having this dead space on the front face of a phone just for the ergonomics of how you're using it in different orientations.
Anyone else? Warren?
I'm mostly concerned with
I said Warren.
Oh,
Sam can go ahead. He already started.
Sorry about that.
Fine,
I'm just saying, I'm mostly concerned with like fingerprints on the camera side of things. Like,
yeah,
because it's closer to your hands now. It's closer to where you access your library. It's closer to where you hit the home button. So it's close to where you probably even launch the camera. So you're going to have a lot of thumbprints on that area. How would that affect like camera quality? Every time you have to take a picture now, you're cleaning. Well, every time you have to take a selfie, you're cleaning, the chin of your phone. It's just, it'd be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah, that takes away time from that selfie game. And you know how people are they roll hard on that stuff, man. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Warren?
And I always found rear mounting to be pretty weird as well too. Or I'm not rear mounting, on bottom mounting to be just. I don't. Is this some type of weird like? I don't. It's confusing in all ways. Like I'm not sure like what to say. It's like if I see that, I bring up that J.R. Smith confused face. That's just kind of what I have when looking at this. It's just like I'm not sure if I should take the selfie or just like maybe run it across the line instead. I don't know. But it's just I don't know. the phone itself looks really nice. It looks sleek. It looks like it's going to be a pretty nice looking phone that might not ever show up here in the U.S., but and probably won't. But that rear mounted cameras. I mean, I keep calling rear mounted. Bottom mounted camera is just kind of confusing.
How far away do you think we are from being able to mount a front facing camera without a border on it? Because that's one of the things that's
like basically underneath the display itself.
No. So I mean, like you would have to have a circle cutout in the display, right? But not having it, because look at the Essential. I think the Essential is the one that's gotten close. So you've got that bar, and then the selfie camera sits under that black bar. It's the widow's peak in the middle of the screen. How far away do you think we are from just getting rid of that mounting hardware? So all you have is just the circle cutout of the camera, because then I think if it's living in your notification shade, that's far less disruptive than a notch.
I think we're not even going to get there. I think we're going to just go. It's going to be flush underneath the display. I think that's where they're working to. Faster than that. I think they're skipping that route and going.
I think we're going to have issues there because you're going to put visual imagery hardware on top of a camera sensor. And how do you light those pixels? Like they won't match the rest of the display anyway. So I mean, like I think that's an acceptable compromise if we can't get this properly under the display with a display that's not interrupted, so like those pixels are still usable, then just cut those pixels out, but don't give us all of this disrupting hardware that goes along with it. Just make it that simple camera circle without everything else that has to be bordering it.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree, but I don't know. You know, like I'm not the engineer. I don't know this. Why are you asking me these questions, man?
I think we're just all confused by this phone. We can't come up with anything.
Any use cases for
it. And we all I keep saying rear facing when it's like at the bottom, and it just like.
Well, maybe Vivo is the one. So I didn't have it up here, but the Vivo Next, which is the Apex, pretty much that's what it's going to be. It's going to have the periscope or the pop-out camera, but that one is truly going to be I won't call it bezel-less, but the least amount of bezel you would find on any.
Well, and also I'm super excited to be seeing these screen speaker technologies coming back. The tissue conduction feature that you had on a phone like the Kyocera Brigadier was phenomenal. Like it's bothered me that a sort of a budget brand like Kyocera gave us a sapphire display with tissue conducting screen in a phone that was just brutally rugged, and no major mainstream manufacturer has picked up on any of that. Well, that brought some serious tech to the phone experience.
You know, one of the things I think that happened is because in terms of mass production levels for that, I'm not saying that it was either cheap or expensive, because this past CES I got to talk to LG Display, and they showed their display with tissue conduction as well as also acoustic vibration on there. And it wasn't that they showed it. It sounded fantastic and great, but they basically said we can throw this on anything, anytime. So I think it was just the ability to actually do it on a large scale that it becomes more beneficial for a company to say, okay, I'll pick that up and use it, as opposed to back then where there probably were a few things or workarounds you had to do just to make sure you got it right. So I think we're at the point where now it's like, hey, yeah, if you want it, we can do it.
We're all just confused by this phone.
Are you going to be taking pictures and holding your phone on the top side? Because if you hold it on the bottom side, the potential of you basically just like messing up that shot. How do you even handle that?
Yeah. How do you have a video call? How do you have a video
I was going to say, I mean, if all you need is a little bit of custom software in there. I mean, you guys remember Alcatel had the screen flip.
Oh my God. If you wanted to videos.
You could use the phone upside down. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. So you just do that.
So use the phone as it's supposed to be used?
Except with the buttons the other way and all that. BF Lloyd says,
what about the Instagram videos? How is that even going to work?
Look, I don't think they're thinking about that right now.
Yeah, this is
Is
coming to
Instagram in
America.
China? Because I think this is going to be more for China.
Yeah, it's not.
This just
coming.
needs to support WeChat, so that's it.
Yeah. BF Lloyd said, hated chin bezels until Juan made earth-moving sense just now. Even though I guess he has, he's just like you with hobbit hands. He's probably thinking about that. That's probably what it is.
Yeah,
no offense, BF Lloyd.
But this is one of those things. Like I think tech enthusiasts will knee-jerk themselves into something that sucks. Like what people were bitching about the iPhone 10 keyboard. Look at all this bottom wasted space. Why can't I put some controls there? Why can't you dock my emojis there? Because then you'd be trying to reach the very bottomest edge of a slippery all glass screen. Apple was right. You need dead space there to push the camera up for where you actually hold the phone. So I'm not bothered by a little extra screen bezel. Our phones are not immersive. They're not. Immersive is wearing a headset or sitting in front of a TV or sitting really close to a movie theater screen, wrapping a display around your head, a really nice gaming curved monitor. That's immersive. Our phones are little. So it's okay if there's a little frame on that phone. It's fine. It really is.
Oh, yeah, he's right.
We don't need to make everything bezel-less.
Anil said transparent OLEDs would still do the trick there.
But I mean, have you seen them? Because they're not truly transparent.
Oh, they are.
They're not. They're not crystal. And
they're not crystal, but they're close.
They're close, right? But we're talking about people who are fixated on taking pictures of themselves with a lower grade camera. So you're already degrading the camera sensitivity by putting that in front, and then also the max output of a transparent OLED does not match what you can do when you put a back on that OLED. Because you also need something for the light to direct.
Oh yeah,
Truly transparent doesn't really work.
No,
it's kind of like
when you're not using the camera, you ionize the screen, and then it forms this ionized layer behind. This is all sci-fi shit.
Yeah, I was just saying they can't even do that on like a vending. They'll be able to do that on a phone selfie. Yeah. Hilarious.
You just ionize the back, man, and you just throw in,
what I need is like a little card. So I'll just put a little black card to the top of the phone whenever I'm not using the selfie camera, and I'll just pull it out whenever I want to use that selfie camera. No, I mean, I've seen people in the chat saying transparent OLED and stuff like that. But my point is, you would still have a significant difference in those pixels standing out from the rest of the phone anyway, and they're going to be in a location which is often dead space. The middle of your notification bar is often dead space. So instead of having this big screen cutout, the halfway point, the evolutionary step should be get rid of the big black bar cutout and only put in the circle cutouts that you absolutely need, and that's far less disruptive to what we currently have. That's my step. Until we can get to some point where we could maybe mount a camera directly under active screen space, because then I'd want that camera to be in the center of the screen. Mm-hmm. Line up my video chat so I can make eye contact with the person I'm talking to. Don't put the camera at the top of the phone. Put it in the middle of the phone. And that would be awesome. But we're still way far away from being able to make a display that can do that.
We're just really confused by this phone. Listen, I don't want no weird, I don't want anything weird looking like this unless this is gonna turn me into a Power Ranger. If this thing ain't gonna turn me into a Power Ranger, then I need a normal looking phone, man. Like if you're gonna give me the bottom out camera and all this other nonsense,
well, we'll have to see June 12th. Both Vivo and Lenovo are making an announcement for the next phone and the Z5. So we'll see what
this Z5 looks awesome, but I think it's upside down. I think Vivo is on a better track. I think in terms of design, I know that moving parts in a phone aren't necessarily practical. That's probably going to be a failure point into a year of life. But I think Vivo's track is actually more encouraging for what we could do with this kind of all-screen look.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. And one more thing, WWDC is on...
Nobody cares.
Monday, the 4th. Not much in terms of rumors. We knew that, of course, there'll be new iOS 12. There's also going to be some improvements to macOS. Doesn't look like there's any hardware. We might get some Apple TV updates and stuff like that. Anything you expecting, Juan? Oh, sorry, more. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm wondering if this is where we'll get at the point where they combine Mac OS and iOS to be one thing.
I don't see that shit happening anytime soon.
I'm not putting it past them. I mean, in terms of a name, like they just don't make it a difference between anything. iOS runs all things that are Mac.
I'm really with you there, Warren, because what I really hope Apple will do soon is revive the MacBook division, have a MacBook and a MacBook Pro and a MacBook Air, but make the MacBook more of an iPad clamshell laptop experience. Use that as the wedge to start moving Mac and iOS, Mac OS and iOS more into the same arena. I think we're seeing, especially with Qualcomm. Qualcomm just announced we've got word on a Qualcomm 1000 or something that's supposed to be a more ARM-based mobile chipset, but for more desktop-style grade computing. Mm-hmm. Apple already has a monster of a chipset in their A series. There's really very little holding them back from moving forward. I thought they were way too early with the experiment of calling an iPad a Pro, but what I'm currently doing on my phones in terms of high-end production computing, Apple could move the needle on something like that. A lower-cost MacBook with an A-series chipset that has more functionality of Mac OS, but is a more walled garden like iOS. That could be a really compelling product.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. I don't think their processor, the A chipset, as powerful as it is for mobile, I don't think it's attuned to any of that desktop experience. I mean, like Mac OS desktop. I don't think it has the power for it. I think
it would be Apple putting a skin on iOS.
Yeah, seriously. Exactly. Yeah, that would have to be.
No, totally. So you make a low-cost MacBook, but it's basically just an iPad with a wrapper and a built-in hinge keyboard. Mm-hmm. And then you can make that design more like a Lenovo Yoga. Mm-hmm. And we would finally have what that Apple experience that we've been begging them for, of some type of multi-mode 2-in-1 tablet and laptop kind of setup. And then that also gives Apple the cred to say we were right about the app and the iOS based ecosystem being the right move. Because look, we also built it into a laptop, and we did something revolutionary that everyone has already done but us. But that to me would be a meaningful change.
You are right. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, what was that, Sam?
No, I'm saying, yeah, you are right. Especially when you start hearing news about, about Google removing tablets from the Play Store. Then it's like, oh, maybe Apple's the only game in town to give you something like that. That's actually very great observation, man.
Well, I need them to do one thing. It'll be the most revolutionary thing ever, and that's group style notifications.
Yeah, that.
For God's sakes,
they've got some
2018.
Warren, it just works. It just works.
It just works to miss your messages.
Yeah, totally.
No, my iPhone 10 has like notifications from
out the yin yang, and I'm just like, well, now I see why iPhone uses messages and missed calls. Okay,
yeah,
can't blame anymore.
It is so it's so bad. It's and people like you can clear it. I mean, it's not even that easy to say. There's no clear all. There's no official.
Where's there a clear all?
There's no clear all.
They group together.
No. You see, iOS is just super intuitive. That's the way they've always done it. So that's how it's intuitive.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out how to turn off notifications on my tablet here because I don't need it for notifications. And clearing those notifications are definitely difficult.
No, I don't touch that. I just kind of swipe up and unlock the phone, and I'm like, I'm good.
Well, if somebody messaged me, oh well, have a nice day. Maybe I'll see it. Maybe I won't. Womp. Yeah. Unlike Android users who are more productive, get your message and actually know when it's been sent to them.
Yeah, that is true.
Clear out the bullshit messages.
But yeah, so to your point though, Warren, I would hope to see some move in that direction. I think developers are taking the app ecosystem seriously enough that I'm getting into some pretty advanced stuff. On Android, doing really high quality audio recordings with dedicated USB hardware, plugging in wireless microphones and interview style equipment. Capturing extremely high quality video, writing the script from the phone, editing, rendering, and uploading 4K video. I think we're ready. I think we're there. It's just now we kind of need a few other pieces, like with Sam, like you were talking about, like DeX. There's not much holding us back from really making the phone brain a main part of our overall computing experience to a much more meaningful degree. And I think if we can get just that one more generation on things like external GPUs, so I should be able to plug my phone into a dumb chassis that has a high-end CPU and GPU with desktop grade RAM and desktop grade storage, but my phone is still the brain. That's like the operating system that follows me around. We could make that transition happen in a meaningful way today, let alone where we might be in 2 or 3 years.
Cool. Well, that's
blew your minds.
That is it for topics right here, guys.
That was very last week tonight's John Oliver, like, cool.
I was almost going for like Conan way back in the day. In the year 2000.
Oh, that's way back.
So one thing I wanted to ask you guys about, and if you think this will actually move the needle on services, you know, AT&T playing games with the LG release, not picking up the G7, but they wanted their exclusive on the V35, and then it turns out to not really be an exclusive because those phones are going to be going to Project Fi. Mm-hmm. Do you think that adding more phones to Project Fi now is really going to move the needle?
No.
It helps Project Fi, which I think
it helps, but it doesn't necessarily move the needle. It's nice to have more phones, but it doesn't move the needle. I think, to me, as much as the G7 is a nice phone, the V35 is just more to my calling. There's no notch. It's got more RAM, if you want more RAM in there, and it's probably going to be priced the same. So, and it's got the 845 internals.
Well, I mean, not in between the actual LG phones, because it's the G7, the V35, and then the new Moto G6.
No, I'm saying that for AT&T to select that was a smart choice.
But I was saying more about Project Fi. Now it's not Pixel and Nexus. It's
but think about that's a pretty big thing that we're getting a flagship phone that isn't technically some type of stock Android or Pixel like experience showing up on Project Fi, which is
the question with Project Fi. Do they do any advertising at all? Is there anything
very minimal?
Very minimal.
San Francisco and saw some print. Like I saw like a couple billboards and stuff. I think I saw some billboards, but it's very, very minimal. But it's more web advertising.
But the fact that now on their site you get the Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL, you get a Moto G6, an Android One Moto X4, an LG G7, then the Q, and an LG whatever the hell I think LG V35.
Proper carrier.
That's pretty good, and they've already kind of answered the one of the calls for unlimited data, which I think they don't charge you data over 6 gigabytes at this point now.
Yeah, it's $60 for unlimited,
and
and then you also pay less if you don't go over 6 gigs of data.
60, and I used Project Fi for a year and a half, and it was solid service.
Oh, I still use Project Fi as my travel phone.
It's a really good service, good coverage. It's basically it really is all T-Mobile and US Cellular with the Sprint merge. But even when I had Project Fi, I never used the Sprint side of it. I always there was ways to use codes to push it to only be on T-Mobile.
Well, and I just pop it into any unlocked phone, so I knew I wasn't ever gonna be moved over to Sprint anyway because it's not CDMA.
Yeah,
but that's a big thing to see happen. That phone gets that. Now, that makes me wonder if other flagship is going to show up in there. Maybe like the HTC, the U12 may show up over there. Maybe Samsung throws one. Maybe Samsung throws a Galaxy on there or a Note on there at some point. Unlocked.
I'm actually really surprised.
Great way to sell unlocked phones, because this is something that people from Project Fi have been asking for a long time, which is, I want to use something other than a Pixel phone.
I mean, it's to Google's benefit. To me, it just depends on what Google is doing internally and how they see Project Fi. Because especially with Samsung, like you mentioned, Samsung this year and the last year, they've been doing that big push of selling unlocked phones themselves. You can go to Samsung.com and buy it, and Samsung would gladly like to say, yeah, you can use this on Project Fi. You're buying it unlocked anyway. Buy our phones. And to me, that would be a bigger push if a Galaxy were to show. Maybe the Galaxy Note, because the S9 the S series is still the big flagship, but a Note on there.
Well, why not? Because you have things like Xfinity Mobile that has the S9 on it. and has the iPhone 10 on
No,
it.
no, no.
So,
I'm not saying that it shouldn't come. I'm just saying that, like, for the initial announcement, a note will be something you announce that, yeah, it's coming out also on 5, but you also will add the S9 because it's already been out for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So I think that is something. But again, it all depends on what my thing with Fi and with any Google services that we've said in the past is that I just don't trust these guys, in the sense that I don't know how they will maintain, what they plan to do with some of these services. Are they going to decide to rebrand and do something else? It's Google. That's just the way it is,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think this is the part of Google that has that, because they can't just go willy-nilly with everything, because they rely on carriers for this, that they're going to they've been towing the line more and going at a much more meticulous process. Like, the only reason I switched off for Project Fi is because I wanted a different phone, and then unlimited data came out for all the other carriers at that point in time. So it just became economically a little bit better to go on that side for myself. But truth be speaking, like, if we start seeing more of these flagships showing on there, unlocked phones are more supported by the Project Fi spec, specifically since now that it's T-Mobile, Sprint, and US Cellular are on there, and most likely Sprint's gonna get that boost in their LTE, and maybe you won't need that CDMA side of it. You can just use any unlocked phone to use the service, and you're gonna get very good coverage compared to anywhere else you're going to go, and get all the features that you're looking for, simple billing and such. It's like, that's pretty compelling for them, I think, in many ways. Only problem Project Fi has is that the Hangouts team are a bunch of jerks. It's really just a problem with that. It's because Project Fi is really dependent on Google Hangouts for a lot of its features to work, which it probably uses it the best out of anyone in terms of using Hangouts, but and everything that it sort of incorporates with it. But they're also got another development team that's a bunch of big jerks about how Hangouts is being used.
You know what? Aditya Anil actually, made a very good point that maybe the overall demand or the overall appeal of Samsung might be a negative, because that would introduce more people to using Fi, and that might, degrade the quality of the service we already get on Fi. I don't jump on that network.
I don't know.
I don't think so, and I think that's because there's just not a lot of people that are going to want to take their own. There's not a lot of people that are smart enough to be able or want to waste their mental capacity on taking service into their own hands, is what you would do with a Project Fi. There's such a thing as in-person store and customer service that people still want to be able to go and do. That's the one thing that the other carriers will have the advantage for. It's clearly not needed, and I think we all know it's probably really not needed. But there are people that just want that type of service. They want to walk in and just do that. That's why they create remember, have you been every carrier store now, if you go to it, that isn't some type of third-party reseller, is essentially an experience store.
Yeah.
And that's done because for those people that want to come into the stores.
Well, no, it's because also Apple told us that experience stores work. And that's what people want. People want service.
It's kind of interesting because they started their experience, and then Best Buy kind of copied it. Then Best Buy essentially sold space inside of it that Samsung also purchased to do the same thing. And then all the other carriers decided to do the same experience style stuff kind of after that fact.
Yeah.
But they got pissed at Best Buy Mobile, basically. The story decided to exist. Well, I got to actually take off, guys. So
alrighty.
I'll see you guys in the next one, all right?
Later.
All right.
Later.
Good one, man.
Yeah, and I guess on that note, we don't have anything else to add. We can definitely round up the show, unless anyone has any questions or any comments.
Yeah, what do you got in the chat, guys? I mean, we've been seeing some fun conversations. A few people out there still fronting for services like Straight Talk. The Straight Talk still looks like it's a really competitive MVNO. I've got a couple family members on Ting. I know I still have a couple friends on Republic. I mean, this MVNO space has been really competitive of late.
Cool. Alrighty.
No, I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
It's been a slow tech week.
It's a slow week. All right. All right, cool. We've come to that point of the show where we tell you what we have on the channel and what you can expect next week. I will do Warren's for you. He's got stuff on the channel, and you can expect more stuff next week from BW1.com. And Mr. You, I said Mr. You, and you, Mr. Juan Bagnell.
Yeah, a couple things recently. On Thursday, we did a New Egg Now on Father's Day tech. Some fun ideas that, you know, you still got some shopping time left to pick up a good gift for your dad. A couple days ago, we did the another episode of the Geek Book Club, where we revisited one of my favorite books when I was 12. Just to see if it still held up, and it did okay. We did Star Trek: The Next Generation Vendetta, the giant novel. There was a whole series of these little pocket books expanding the Star Trek universe, not canon. But they had this one pocket book, which was 500 pages long. So they called it the giant novel, which is hilarious. And then I also published my review of the LG G7. Just trying to take a fresh look at this phone, especially with some of the commentary coming out about pricing, which I don't think has been entirely fair to the G7 when you've got an entire review that's just decided that for some reason it's not worth it because it's a little bit more expensive than a smaller Galaxy S9. So I've got a review out on my channel there. And then I have just finished the script. It's 4,200 words on the G7's cameras. And so I'll be finishing that up over the weekend. You can be on the lookout for my full in-depth deep dive camera review for the G7. And that's going to go to patreon.com/somegadgetguy.
Cool. All right. On my end, we had, of course, our Westworld recap show. We've got another episode coming up Sunday, episode 7. Join us. 10:20 p.m. It's a lot of fun discussing Westworld. In terms of tech videos, we dropped our, I would say I call it a buyer's guide to VR, looking at the 4 of the biggest VR headsets: the Mirage Solo from Lenovo, Oculus Go, the Gear VR, and of course the Daydream headset, to see like not what's the best, but which fits you the best. So depending on where you are, what you're looking for, and price range. We also had another PC build. This is our Ryzen 2600. It's a budget upgrade. It's a little different. This is showing you how you can easily upgrade a Ryzen processor to 2600 is the 2nd gen Ryzen, and you can upgrade from the very 1st generation. You can upgrade from an APU because AMD uses the same chipset for all of those. So it's a really easy process to actually do that. And then we've got 2 mobile videos. One is our 3-month review of the Galaxy S9 Plus. This was a nice collab I did with Matthew Moniz. He basically hijacked the video, and we just did this run and gun when he was here in New York City. So that was cool to actually do that with him. And then I did a complete walkthrough of the HTC U12 Plus. Just got to go through all the aspects of the device. I will be doing more videos like this for certain devices that I don't have time to spend too much on. So I will just go through the whole thing for you guys. So if you like that, let me know. Next week, we will have a couple of videos. We have our audio battle. This one will include the OnePlus 6, the HTC U12 Plus, as well as also the Sony Xperia Z. So 3 new phones that claim that they have some really good sound in terms of speakers. We're going to be testing them out with our champion, the G7 ThinQ, and the runner-up, the Galaxy S9 Plus. Maybe the iPhone, since iPhone people will probably complain. Which was third place in that whole debate. And then we'll also have, man, I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, some more videos. Yeah. There will be more. I have a lot of videos coming up next week. It's going to be busy. And E3 is also around the corner. But before I wrap, I want to thank everyone for watching the channel. We just hit 100 million views. So thank you very much for you guys watching, leaving comments, cursing me out when I make mistakes, that kind of stuff. It's been fun, and appreciate all the support over the years. So thank you. And definitely check out all the channels. Check out Mr. Warren Bowman at bw1.com. His channel is bw1 on YouTube. You can also find him on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, bw1.com. And then Mr. Juan Bagnell is Some Gadget Guy on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. He also hosts a show at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays on Newegg Now. Pretty fun show. Check it out. Lots of cool hardware. They've got some nice, great discounts once in a while. So you can also watch him play VR games and dance. He used to be a very good dancer.
They worked it in. They worked it in, man. I was stoked about that.
And finally, Sam, you can find him on Twitter. It is _man, part of the Booredatwork network. And myself, it is Booredatwork, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Thank you very much, guys. And always enjoy your entertainment.
Bam.